In just 6 days, the map of the Middle East changed forever. A war so short, yet so powerful, it reshaped borders, triggered decades of conflict, and continues to influence global politics today. It's known as the Six-Day War, a rapid and intense conflict between Israel and its neighboring countries, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. What happened in those few days left the world in shock, and what followed still affects millions of lives. Today, we will talk about the 3-day war that redefined the Middle East. So before we get started, make sure to hit that like button. Also subscribe to my channel. 10. Rising tensions. This war didn't start in a day. It was the result of months, even years, of rising hostility. In early 1967, the situation in the Middle East grew dangerously unstable. Egypt's president, Gamal Abdel Nasser, made a bold and aggressive move. He demanded the withdrawal of United Nations peacekeeping forces that had been stationed in the Sinai Peninsula since the 1956 Suez Crisis. These troops were there to maintain peace between Egypt and Israel, and their removal signaled that something major was coming. But that wasn't all. Soon after, Egypt blocked Israeli ships from passing through the Straits of Tiran, a narrow but vital sea route that gave Israel access to the Red Sea and beyond. This wasn't just a political gesture. For Israel, this was a direct threat to its economy and national security. Cutting off maritime access was, by all practical standards, an act of war. 9. The first strike. Operation Focus. Early in the morning of June 5, 1967, while most of the world was still waking up, Israel made a bold and risky decision that would change the course of the war and history. It launched a massive and coordinated surprise air attack known as Operation Focus. Israeli fighter jets took off in silence, flying low to the ground to avoid radar detection. Their destination: Egyptian air bases. Within just a few hours, the results were staggering. Over 300 Egyptian aircraft were destroyed, most of them while they were still parked on the ground. Hangars were turned to rubble, runways were cratered, and Egypt's Air Force, once considered one of the strongest in the Arab world, was crippled before it could even take off. 8. Ground offensive in the Sinai. With the skies under Israeli control, the next phase of the war moved to the ground, and it moved fast. Israeli ground forces launched a powerful and rapid offensive across the Sinai Peninsula, a vast desert region that separated Israel from Egypt. The Egyptian military, still reeling from the loss of its air force just hours earlier, was caught completely off guard. Communication between units broke down. Commanders were confused. Orders were delayed or never received. And the result? Chaos. Israeli tanks and infantry units advanced with precision and speed, targeting key Egyptian positions. Instead of facing strong resistance, they found disorganized and retreating enemy troops. 7. Jordan joins the war. As the battles raged in the south, Israel sent a clear message to King Hussein of Jordan: stay out of the conflict. But Jordan, under pressure and bound by its military alliance with Egypt, made a critical decision. It joined the war. On the morning of June 5, Jordanian artillery began shelling West Jerusalem, including civilian neighborhoods and key Israeli positions. It was a move that changed everything. 6. Capturing Jerusalem. June 7, 1967, a day that would go down as one of the most powerful and emotional moments in Israeli history. After intense street battles and heavy fighting, Israeli forces finally broke through the last Jordanian defenses and entered the old city of Jerusalem, a place sacred to Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. For Jews, this wasn't just about land. It was about history, faith, and identity. For nearly 2,000 years, since the destruction of the Second Temple, Jews had dreamed of returning to full control over their ancient capital. And now, that dream had become reality. 5. The Golan Heights Battle. For years before the war, the people living in northern Israel lived under constant threat. From the high cliffs of the Golan Heights Syrian forces regularly shelled Israeli towns and farms down below. Families would rush to shelters with little warning, living in fear of the next attack. The Golan had become a symbol of danger, and now Israel was ready to put an end to it. On June 9, after securing major victories in the south and center, Israel turned its focus to the north. The mission: take the Golan Heights. It wasn't easy. The terrain was steep and heavily fortified. Syrian forces held the high ground, which gave them a major defensive edge. Israeli troops had to climb rocky slopes under fire, dealing with landmines, bunkers, and strong resistance. 4. Ceasefire declared. After just 6 days of intense and shocking warfare, the conflict came to a sudden halt. On June 10, 1967, a UN-brokered ceasefire officially ended the fighting. The speed and scale of the war were unlike anything the modern Middle East had seen before. In less than a week, Israel had achieved what few thought possible. It had taken control of the Sinai Peninsula, the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights. That meant Israel had tripled its land area in just 6 days. The world watched in disbelief. What started as a terrifying moment of survival for Israel had ended in one of the most decisive military victories of the 20th century. 3. The world reacts. The world didn't stay silent after the war. It watched with shock, awe, and growing concern. On one hand, many countries were stunned by Israel's military performance. A small nation, surrounded and outnumbered, had won a massive victory in just 6 days. Military experts praised the planning, precision, and speed of Israel's campaign. For many, it was a story of survival against overwhelming odds. But not everyone saw it that way. Others in the international community were deeply troubled. Israel now controlled vast territories it hadn't held before, lands home to millions of Palestinians and other Arab populations. Critics warned that occupying these territories would lead to long-term instability, resistance, and endless conflict. 2. Lasting consequences. The Six-Day War wasn't just a brief military conflict. It reshaped the region in ways that are still being felt today. One of the most immediate and profound outcomes was the impact on the Palestinian people. Hundreds of thousands now found themselves living under Israeli military occupation in the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. What followed were years, then decades, of protests, resistance, and rising tensions. The hope for peace seemed more distant than ever. The war also caused a major shift in how the Arab world viewed Israel. Before the war, many Arab nations believed Israel could be defeated through force. After the war, that belief was shattered. 1. A defining moment in history. The Six-Day War didn't just redraw borders. It rewrote the rules of the Middle East. It changed how nations viewed war, diplomacy, and each other. Even today, decisions made in those 6 days continue to shape conflicts, peace talks, and power struggles across the region. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. Before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.